Welcome back. Welcome back. Yours truly, Diamond K, in here. And I am so excited to welcome Brother Daren Muhammad, host of State of the City, the radio show here in Baltimore and beyond, because your outreach has really branched, and you are far from just a Baltimore host. I'm super excited to have this discussion. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, my brother. Honored to be on with you, and just thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for this kind of platform, because as we look at where America is and where the world is, these kind of shows, your show, this kind of platform is where most Americans are turning to get their information. And so that's why what we're doing here tonight is so important. And what you have done with expanding, of course, your show and your platform is so important as well. So just thank you for the opportunity. Honor is always mine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those wondering, we're streaming on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, we're on X, we're on Twitch, we're on a lot of places. And to your point, the new media, as they call it, is really reaching more folks than the traditional media, cable shows, and and all of that. So the election, what were your thoughts? Did it go the way you thought it was going to go, or were you surprised?
Well, it went the way exactly the way I thought it was going to go. Of course, I always say when we look at any type of major event, we got to always look at signs, symbols, numerology, gematria. Historically, that's what all of our people have done. You look to the visionaries, you call in the spiritual men. It's like a football team. You use some kind of football language, right? You call a huddle, but not only do you call a huddle, you listen to the head coaches, you listen to the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, those up in the box that may not see what you see on the field. And that's what I did in terms of looking at this election. 30 days out, 15 days out, 10 days out, 5 days out. And so it was a lot of signs, symbols, numerology, and gematria that was laid out for those that really looked at it. And even if people say, you call in your psychic, you call in your, those that got that intuition, say, what do you see? Because as there's an old saying in the African proverb, as it is above, so it is below. So you call in your African spiritual men, spiritual women, call in those that might, study the traditional African religions, the voodoo. You say, well, what do you see, right? And so as I looked at that and looked at just the date of the election, it was all about the number 45. If you go back and look at November the 5th, if you Google November the 5th, it was the 45th day of fall. If you Google November the 5th, 2024, it was the 45th week, right, of the year. So there was a lot of 45s in it. If you just look at those kind of things, you say this got Trump's number on it since he was president 45. So it was a lot in it. And then when running the candidate that was running, of course, the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris, she didn't attend one of the most pivotal fundraisers that's held every 4 years. This is tradition. This is legacy, as we just finished talking about. It's called the Al Smith Dinner, which is held in New York. And the two leading candidates from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they come there, they roast one another, they roast the people that are there in terms of the attendees.
Right.
They're Democrat, they're Republican, they're from all walks of life. But it's a major dinner that's been going on for years. So we talk about legacy and tradition. President Trump came, Kamala Harris didn't come. The last time someone didn't come who was running for office was Walter Mondale. Walter Mondale didn't go, and he was running against Ronald Reagan. And Walter Mondale only won one state, his own state of Minnesota.
Kamala won a lot more than one.
Well, she won a lot more than one, but it was similar to the Walter Mondale, Ronald Reagan presidential race, where Trump, in terms of the numerous states that he won, but also in terms of how he won many of those swing states, and just in terms of looking at the numbers. So he won not only, of course, the popular vote, but of course the electoral votes, and now the Republicans will control the Senate as well as control, of course, the House of Representatives. And this has not happened since when President Obama was in 2009.
Definitely.
So it's a kind of a mandate, is what the American people are saying, to what was taking place in America. And this election, when you look at it, I always say we in America, but sometimes we got to look outside of America. There were about 60 to 70 countries that had elections over the past year or just in 2024. And I think only one country, the incumbent, won, and that was in India, where Prime Minister Modi won. All other incumbents were voted out. So, I would say you look at what's happening locally, but also look at what's happening nationally and internationally.
That's true. That's true. And you brought up something. You said mandate, right?
Right.
And I think that is an excellent place to start. Mandate. I don't know if he has a mandate, though. I don't know if the Republicans actually have a mandate. So initially, I guess they thought they had a mandate. And, it takes a long time to count 155 million votes. So while he could have said there was a mandate, I don't think he can actually claim mandate anymore, because he didn't even get the majority of people did not vote for him. Let me say that. He got under 50%.
Right.
The election is actually closer than folks thought. So Trump's got about 49%, and Harris has 48%.
Right.
Is that a mandate?
Absolutely. When you go back to 1992, President Bill Clinton won just 43%. And Newsweek or Time Magazine said it was a mandate. And of course, Clinton brought in all types of new, through executive order and through, of course, the use of his office as the bully pulpit, all types of new legislation, new laws, new bills, etc. In terms of that time. So, I always say we use history as a guide. Same thing with George W. Bush following September the 11th. And then his reelection, many thought and saw that he had a mandate. And of course, we know out of that, he used that to grow or take more power for himself and for those that was in his circle. But we can look at just recent history. And then, of course, in Barack Obama, who, of course, was reelected. And out of that, of course, came the Budget Control Act of 2009. Out of that came sequestration, which I believe is around 2009, 2011. Under Obama. Obama then used that recess when Congress and the Senate wasn't in session to be able to get those who he wanted to put in his cabinet. George Bush did the same thing. And so while you hear people saying that about Trump, it's not like we haven't seen that in recent history.
With regards to the recess
appointments,
about,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
But the difference, and this is a major difference, Trump doesn't want any type of investigation on his clients.
No, Bush didn't have it. Obama didn't have it. Obama didn't have it either.
Obama's folks were definitely investigated.
No. He made sure that didn't take place.
So you're trying to say that they didn't come before Congress?
No. He had quite a few of them that they went.
No. Trump doesn't want anybody through.
No, not when you know the history of the FBI and what the FBI did to him. So if they did that to him, they would do that to try to stifle his appointments right now. That's all.
What is the him we talking about?
President Trump.
Okay.
What we saw with President Trump, I mean, no sooner than he got in terms of what happened. And all of this came out in, of course, John Durham's report in terms of the Operation Hurricane Crossfire Hurricane, in terms of what they did to spy on President Trump as soon as before he got in office, in terms of what was being done. All of this has come out. All this has been made public, in terms of what took place. So I think that as we bring it back to the election, now comes, of course, him filling his cabinet, and of course, filling his cabinet not with what people would thought would be the traditional Republicans, but those that are outside of Washington, D.C. So I think, again, this is what the American people would like to see, because, of course, they want.
Do you think that the American people want to see all of Trump's folks come in under recess appointment?
Well, yeah. If some are going to come in under recess, some are not.
Some will.
Yeah, some will.
Some will.
Absolutely.
But I'm talking about all of them, and so. Barack Obama had 32. Clinton had 100
Yeah,
and
I forget how
something.
many Bush had. Bush had over 100 or something, right?
Yeah, and so I don't want people to think that this is something that's not done.
Right.
It can be done.
Yep.
It can and has been done. But some of the folks that Trump wants to bring in are not qualified.
Yeah. Well, depend. Well, it again. When you say see, not everybody has to be qualified in terms of people say, well, so and so don't know nothing
Experience.
about health,
No, I'm saying
right?
you mean in terms of experience, right? Okay.
Right. They may not have the experience, and if experience people have gotten us in the condition that we're in. Give me some people that don't have the experience. That's where I'm at now. If the experience has gotten Washington in the
Well,
condition that
let's
it's
talk.
in,
Okay, so
and gotten
Linda.
America in the condition, give me some people that's outside of the box or outside of Washington D.C. I think that's what the American. See, Trump was not your traditional Republican or Democrat. So the American people said, let's look at that. Now, as we're resetting, I got some brothers and sisters saying that they want to make sure they know where we are. So can we
Okay.
post that or just let them know?
Yeah, so they can go to your page on Facebook. It is right on your page.
It's on my page. Okay.
Yeah, if they're on Facebook, they can go to your page on Facebook.
Okay.
And if that's where they are.
If they're on my Facebook page.
If they're on Facebook, they can easily go there.
Okay, so we'll be live on Facebook. All right, I'll make sure I let them know we're live on Facebook. But no, I think the other part we have to look at it from the perspective again is that Trump was outside of the traditional Republican, traditional Democrats, and again, he was a populist more so than your traditional Republican or Democrat. And what the American people want, somebody's just going to just get in and deliver for them right now. That's the time that we're in. With everything that's taking place.
And
now the
we
other thing
agree on that. We agree on that.
Right. The other thing I want to let you in on, if you've ever, there's a book out that's been out for years. It was written in 1896, I think. The guy named
a lot of years.
Right. Now I just tell people go back and read it, but it's is Trump the last president? Right. Now,
wait, what's the name of the book?
Is Trump is I think the guy name is Lockwood Ingersoll. Okay. But it's entitled "Is Trump the Last President?" Now, one of my teachers was the great Baba D. Gregory. He said to me before he died that Trump would be the last president of the United States.
Wait, what?
Yeah, yes. So if you Google that, you'll see the book. But not only there's people who have posted YouTube videos talking about the book. So when I heard Dick Gregory tell me that, I was trying to get an understanding of what he was saying, and if he was going to be the last president of the United States, then I had to go and do my research. And in doing my research, I came across the fact that there are two Americas. There's America, the corporation, and there's America, the republic. So clearly, I came to the consensus of what he was saying was that Donald Trump would be the last president of America, the corporation. And so that's what we're looking at right now. But
and you are completely fine with that. If this is what you believe, you're fine with that.
I'm fine with that. Now, there's also another book entitled "The Travels of Barron." Now, of course, you know Donald Trump's youngest son name is what? Barron.
Barron, yeah.
Right. So, if you get a chance in your time, not tonight, just watch the videos, and I think American people have to kind of self-educate themselves regarding who is Donald Trump, in terms of really having an understanding of him, because there's been this fixation on Donald Trump since he became, of course, or came down the steps.
Oh, well, I think there was a fixation with him before he came down the steps, which is the only reason he was elected. The fixation is related to reality TV and his stardom. And that is why folks were fascinated with him, so to speak.
Well, there's been plenty of reality TV stars, right?
Yeah. Right. But he's selling he was selling a lifestyle, and with him being involved with the boxing and some of those events over the years, even concerts that happened at the venue, that's how he had a connection within the hip hop community, like a lifestyle connection.
I mean, when you study history, when blacks in New York, blacks in entertainment, blacks in real estate. I've seen photos, of course, videos of him with Muhammad Ali in the
Yeah,
award.
definitely. And
Ali
Don King. Yeah.
box with Jim Brown, with Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
When Jesse ran for president, Donald Trump financed his most of his campaign when he ran for president. But the media, both
But
times,
I don't most of his
in
campaign.
84 and 88, yeah. If you Google Jesse Jackson Wall Street project, you'll see many videotapes with him and Donald Trump, basically giving him space to rent from him. So Trump has always kind of had a foot in terms of not just in New York, but in with the black community.
So before you go past that, you are not of the belief that Trump is a racist. Then I assume, and that's why you mentioned those things.
I think as Baba D. Gregory used to tell me, right? Every white man, a woman, and child that's in America can have some type of racism because that's the ether in terms of the system construct that they've grown up in. But in terms of using that to stop our people from making progress, no. And I think that's again what the media has kind of fed to our people and to the American people. But I think that again, Muhammad Ali wouldn't be hanging out with a racist. Mike Tyson.
So what about the Central Park Five? What about the billboards that Trump put up?
What's that?
What about the billboards that Trump put up in relation to the Central Park Five?
Oh, well, he was taking the information from the media again. So the media was the one that was feeding him and others in New York and around the country the information. But the person who of course was the mayor at that time, Trump wasn't a politician at that time, but he took out the ad in the paper. But be clear, the person who could have helped Central Park Five was Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg was one of the biggest contributors, has always been one of the biggest contributors to the Democratic Party. Right now, Michael Bloomberg put up almost 50 million behind Kamala Harris. When Harris dropped out in 2019, Bloomberg was the one that was running then. But then comments about him saying if you want to reduce crime in New York City, he said all you got to do is stop and frisk black minority males. So
I don't doubt that. Now,
when Oprah Winfrey and Ava DuVernay did the documentary talking about Central Park Five, they failed to bring up Michael Bloomberg. It was Andrew Yang, who was the treasurer or comptroller, who told Bloomberg, you got to settle with the Central Park Five. And Bloomberg said he was not settling with the Central Park Five. So I think that it's the revisionist history. And
you are doing some revisionist history too. Now, Trump, even now, Trump will say that he stood by what he said, even though they have been exonerated. The Central Park Five are suing him. They're not suing Michael Bloomberg. They're suing Donald Trump.
Right, which will make you ask the question: Why are they targeting Trump and not
targeted?
Bloomberg? Left them in jail. Why are they targeting Trump with a suit, right? And not the one who did the harm, the greatest damage to them, right? So I think it's more social engineering and what we see going on. But they did that to try to garner support for Harris, and it backfired, unfortunately.
What backfired?
They tried toward Trump leading up into the presidential election. It backfired. I mean, you saw where it's now come out in terms of this was the most expensive presidential election, $15.9 billion raised. Imagine that kind of money we could have done. What we could have done with that kind of money.
A lot. We could have done a lot with that.
And then, of course, it said Kamala raised $1.2 billion. And at a time when she was trying to get inroads in the black community, to now come out New York Post and other reputable news outlets, right? That Al Sharpton was paid $500,000. Oprah, Roland Martin was paid $350,000 through his media called New Media, NUMIA. Oprah Winfrey was paid $2.5 million, not $1 million. Beyonce was paid $10 million.
Now Tina Knowles says that Beyonce was not paid that.
So they got to file an FEC report.
Oprah says she was not paid that.
Reports, right?
So hold on. If Trump or Larry Hogan or any of these Republicans that you align with, wanted state of the city to do something, right?
Yeah,
they would pay the state of the city. They wouldn't pay Daren Muhammad personally. They would pay your company. And so if they say we paid Daren Muhammad to endorse us. You would say, no, you didn't pay me to endorse y'all.
Right? They would
Hey, Mochi.
deny it.
Yeah.
They would. I wouldn't deny it if you say.
But you didn't get paid personally.
Yeah, they paid me. They paid me and my company to endorse them. Right. So but Oprah tried to deny it, but of course they paid Harpo. Right.
They paid Harpo. Hey, Mochi, how's it going? No,
right.
So she has a whole organization. She's got a team. They put together a whole broadcast. That didn't go $1 million didn't go directly into Oprah's pocket. It went to the broadcast. They had a studio audience at the studio. They had people, right? She probably got some of the money. She didn't get $1 million.
Oh,
she spent it on the thing,
right.
But so it's just, I don't know.
But they should have at least put that disclaimer. You remember when Joe Biden was going to run and he went up the word and he went to another radio station, black radio station in Wisconsin, and they had paid the radio host, they had fed her the questions, and the radio station.
Wait, we talking about
Joe Biden. You remember that? He dropped out. And the radio station said they didn't have anything to do with that. Now they knew everything was going to happen.
No, they got thrown under the bus. But they got thrown under the bus. So, but what I find so interesting is that you're not mentioning that Republicans pay people. This is how business is done. This is how elections are done. So, only people that got paid are the people that Kamala paid. Trump didn't pay nobody.
Well, if he did, then of course it wouldn't. If he paid somebody for an endorsement,
no. He did pay somebody for an endorsement. If he paid RFK for an endorsement.
If he paid RFK for an endorsement, all that information is going to be forthcoming. The
payment is the nomination.
Trump in the past 4 years. If he paid RFK for an endorsement, Tulsi Gabbard for an endorsement, anybody else for an endorsement. As the old folks say, whatever don't come out in the war is going to show enough come out in the ring.
Well, y'all going to say it's fake news, Russia. Y'all going to say whenever the stuff comes out, y'all play that one.
All you do is present. They got the receipts. It's receipts.
Here's the receipts. Do you remember when he was having a conversation with RFK and RFK's son put out that video of the phone call between RFK and Trump where Trump asked RFK for his endorsement and he would put him in the cabinet? RFK dropped out. RFK is going to be one of his nominees. That's right there.
But that was supposed to take place in 2016 when Trump was running. That there was talk for years that it was going to be a Trump-Kennedy alliance. I mean, I know being out here for years doing research that was always the talk, that Donald Trump was going to run for president and it was going to be either JFK Jr. at the time, because JFK was in New York, and was going to run for the that Senate seat in which the Launches run for president. But of course, he was told that Senate seat was going to go to who? Hillary Clinton. So look at what happened, right? And now, of course, years later, then his cousin, RFK Jr., who was going to run or was going to be in that cabinet, didn't get the position. And now Trump has come back to make his word bond to him and offer him the position as the head of health and human services. So to me, I think that's a sign of what a real, genuine man will do. Admit that what he did before wasn't right and correct that right and correct that wrong and work to make that wrong a right this time around. And I think RFK being there sends, of course, fears into Big Pharma and to those who don't have the best interests of the American people when it comes to their health. And so I agree with what RFK.
So RFK, you said you agree with RFK?
I agree with RFK. He's met with Minister Farrakhan many times. He's met with others who deal in practice holistic medicine and have said, we got to, of course, get the additives, the dyes, all of the stuff that they're putting into the food that's sickening our children.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
When it comes to, of course, I would say tongue in cheek, the pandemic, scamdemic, transdemic. RFK was one of those said people want to take what they call a vaccine or immunization. If they choose to do that, fine. But our babies, as soon as they're born, they're given about like 70 something shots before they're 3 years old. And one of the major pieces he was working on before the pandemic, along with Minister Farrakhan and some of Minister Farrakhan representatives, was that there was a doctor, a whistleblower by the name of William Thompson. I and myself and Dick Gregory had talked to a guy named John Rappaport, who has a site called no more lies.com. and they were talking about in the Journal of Pediatric Medicine, a report that was done talking
This
about
RFK.
MMR vaccines in which they were given to black boys, majority black baby boys, and it was causing them to have autism. So Trump looked at that because, many people didn't know that his son, Barron, was affected by, again, immunizations. And a lot of celebrities were coming out, speaking out about it. Tony Braxton, one of the young, I can't think of her name, that used to be on.
And they're speaking out about what?
So what he was doing and saying was right in terms of RFK, and the fight was right. But then, of course, what we saw was the pandemic, and the CDC was never held accountable for this whole issue of falsifying the information, which was causing, again, autism and black baby boys.
All right, so that has not been that has been debunked. That vaccines cause autism. That has been debunked.
That's clear that it's what's in it is causing autism. The mercury and everything else.
There are different types of vaccines. It's not just one vaccine.
Yeah, but
there are different types of vaccines.
The MMR is what I was referencing. The mumps, measles, and rubella is the one that was being talked about. And the whistleblower Thompson went before the Congress to talk about, of course, how all that information the CDC had covered up. So, but you could take that one example and multiply it in terms of what they've done. That's all. Fauci did the same thing when he was with NIAID. In terms of his experiments on children, his experiments on animals, etc. Of course, Fauci. I mean, I could go on and on about Fauci.
So, but we ain't talking about Fauci. But just to be clear, you don't think that there's a need for protection against the mumps, the measles, and rubella?
You could have protection, but people have a right to have. You can use holistic medicine. You can do holistic practice. There's therapies other than the traditional trying to force. I got children that have been in Baltimore City public schools. My children have never taken any type of shot, and they're smart. One is now a freshman at NYU. She was the historian at the Baltimore School for the Arts.
But we have, but just because that worked,
children, no, not at all.
So your example with your children, that means that kids are not supposed to take vaccines because yours had a positive outcome.
Yeah, you could take my story, just like I said, and multiply it.
Right? Yeah, but there's more people that have taken the vaccine than haven't. Now, what if when your kids were in school, they became infected by someone who was sick with, I don't know, mumps, measles, rubella? You would have been upset, correct or no?
Got sick. They were around people that had it. They were around people who took the shit.
There were no people in their school that had the mumps or the measles. That has been.
Some of those may be coming back, but if my children were
if RFK is in there, they definitely coming back. My Lord,
boost that immune system. But you don't say now because of that, everybody got to get this and everybody got to get that. So I just say that people got to self-educate themselves. They got to know their rights, and I agree again with what RFK is saying. That's why that's so very important.
RFK is a lunatic. I don't agree with nothing RFK said. Nothing. RFK is not a doctor. One, he ain't no doctor.
Right, but the people were listening to Bill Gates, right? They were listening only.
I wasn't listening to who was listening to Bill Gates,
right? But Bill
about
Gates,
computers, maybe.
What's that?
You can listen to Bill Gates about computers.
Computers. No, some of
them. Yeah, he's knowledgeable about that.
Right.
Yeah, so just tuning in, Don McKay in here, Brother Daren Muhammad of State of the City, and we're talking about, we're supposed to be talking about the election, but we got sidetracked a little bit, but moving back to Kamala.
We tied together, my brother.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. Kamala, was she a flawed candidate, or did she run a bad campaign?
She was a flawed candidate. See, when you got her, this is like you and I. We got history, right? We got history together. I know your family. You know my family. Kamala, nobody knows her, so it's like no history, no legacy. So you're like, where did she come from? That's all. Yeah. So when you go back and do your research, you say, well, wait a minute, she was with Willie Brown. Nobody really knew her except she was with Willie Brown. So she didn't have.
So what does that mean? Everybody dated somebody. But she worked for him, rather.
Let me move. When she worked for him, Willie Brown. Only those with bad credit need co-signers, right? So Willie Brown was the one clearly that put her on. So
Okay.
when you go read about when she ran for district attorney, she only won like one vote. So then they fast tracked her to work in a certain office, padded her positions. She never really had to work like you and I work, right?
Right.
So
Maybe.
ran for
Well, I mean,
Senate.
she came from a very humble beginning. She wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth like Donald Trump.
Well, I wouldn't say she came from a humble beginning. I wouldn't say
Well,
that.
she came from a single parent household.
Not true. That's the story that they like to tell when they create. I call them MK Ultra candidates. They did that with Obama. They did that with Westmore. You know, I mean, this is what they'll do. They did that with Cory Booker.
But look, Westmore 2028 is what they say. What I'm hearing them say in a lot of circles.
Yeah, but so now, but she just wasn't the best. You don't run your less. You got to bring your best. And
Okay.
so now what ended up happening? She ran in 2020, and of course she dropped out because she couldn't get support in 2020. But one of the biggest and largest private equity firms who rode in with Obama, they rode in and stayed with Biden. I'm talking about BlackRock, and if you don't know who BlackRock is, that's of course a $10 trillion, if not larger. And so most of your corporations in any industry, their largest three biggest shareholders are BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street.
Yeah, they're investment companies.
Right. Yeah. They're bigger than They're like international bankers, and international bankers are more powerful than standing armies. So they're the ones that right now got to deal with Ukraine to rebuild Ukraine. They got to deal with Israel and Hamas and the Palestinians to rebuild that area over there. So that's how huge they are. In fact, Larry Fink, the guy who was the CEO, was supposed to be Hillary Clinton's treasurer if she got in. They had all that planned, but Donald Trump messed up their plan. So, but let's get back to Kamala. So now Kamala dropped out of the 2020. She couldn't garner as much support as Martin O'Malley. So she wasn't a good candidate
in 2020. Yeah.
Right? So then
you did not like her in 2020. When we were doing the show at that time during that election. Yeah, you've been consistent.
Of course, by Tulsi Gabbard, and Tulsi was talking, and here's another woman of color. She's from Hawaii. So Tulsi Gabbard was talking about Kamala's record as the Attorney General in terms of how she locked up black men, black women.
She denies that.
Right? No, she did all of it. When you see, this is where black media comes in. If black media could stop having a romance and a bromance with these candidates and I just tell them be as meticulous with her and those candidates as they were with Donald Trump, but they refused to do so. So that's the price that they're gonna pay now, because we're gonna talk about the biggest losers in the election is the media. We're coming to that in a second. But so now Kamala, she didn't just run a flawed campaign; she was a flawed candidate, and of course. They thought that they could run her the way they did with Obama. Don't you want to make history? Don't you want to break history? Don't you want a woman in the White House? So then they started trying to beat down black men. What's your problem? Why black men leaving the Democratic Party? You say, wait.
Well, these are. You don't think these are valuable questions or valid questions?
The Democratic Party left the black man a long time ago. The Democratic Party have gotten away from the traditional values of what the Kennedys, what Dr. King, and the Democratic Party has had. They've left black folk where everybody else is.
Dr. King would not have voted for Donald Trump.
What's that?
Dr. King would not have voted for Donald Trump. He would have voted for Kamala Harris.
I don't know. I don't know.
We have no way of knowing, but
he was a conservative, and the King family was Republicans. Okay, but Kamala wasn't the best candidate, and that was the issue right there. And Kamala was now. Let's be clear. Kamala, as the head of the Senate, she could have got the voting rights bill passed. Because she would have been the presiding vote. She could have got our voting rights bill passed. She could have got the so-called George Floyd police reform bill passed. She could have got anything passed to help black folk. They put everybody else before us. The Asian hate crime bill, the LGBTQZ anti-lynching bill that they put Emmett Till name on it. So they looked out for every other minority ethnic group that was a part of the Democratic Party, even the illegal immigrants who they call.
And Kamala, the vice president, did all this.
Gave them amnesty. You know how many brothers in jail for child support can't get amnesty? Wish they could get amnesty. You know what I mean? Bro was in jail for driving on a expired license.
And this is all Kamala, the vice president's fault.
The vice president and well, she was the border czar. So therefore, all those missing children
don't have borders,
that falls on her. All those criminal elements that they sent over here from Venezuela and other countries that came across the Darien Gap. I don't know why they put my name on it, the Darien Gap down there. But nevertheless, that's on her, because when she was asked by Lester Holt, when are you going to the border? She started cackling, saying, I haven't been to Europe. So she was a weak candidate.
That was a mistake.
Most of her staff resigned, and they left because they said they couldn't work with Kamala Harris. So I was trying to figure out where all this.
Some of her staff resigned, but some of her staff resigned. More people resigned from Trump's first debacle than Kamala. But people resign all the time.
No. They was resigning, and they were trying to get her not to run with Joe Biden. And so I was trying to figure out where the media was all of a sudden reimagining Kamala and then trying to force feed her down the throats of not just black men, but the black community. You had a lot of blacks that this became an issue for them as well, because they said she was Indian all this time. Now all of a sudden she started saying she black. All that was a turnoff for a lot of people.
Okay, she went to a HBCU. She never, huh?
That's a new thing now, right?
HBCU is a new thing.
HBCUs, but does that make them black because they went to a HBCU? I'm just asking you that question.
My point is that she's identified as a black person since she was a kid. We are how we appear in public, what a reasonable person thinks we are.
Right.
If I go in somewhere and I say I'm a white man, people going to look at how I appear. Right. And I'm not a white man, for the record, but I'm just saying. I can't say that that's a whole nother thing.
That was the issue during the campaign that was underlying that. I think the
Trump campaign when she was running against Trump, not when she was running for president the first time.
Bring it up, but that was real in black barbershops, black salons, and black culture.
You can't
go to India and pretend like you're Indian. You can't go to Jamaica and pretend like you're Jamaican. They're gonna test that.
You remember in the 2019 campaign, right? When you were doing your show.
Yes.
And we had all these candidates running against Trump, and Biden ended up becoming the candidate, the nominee.
And I told you why, because of BlackRock.
We weren't questioning whether Kamala was black, was Indian at that time. We just said she was black. Nobody said anything else.
Record. That was in addition to that, we looked at her record, and her record was flawed. Her record of black men like Kevin Cooper on death row. She knew the man was innocent, even after the evidence came forward to clear him. She left the man on death row, man. She was a
prosecutor. That prosecutors do. That's what they do. They put people in jail. That's their job.
That's what they're supposed to do. But when evidence comes out that you know that's going to again get this man off death row, she sat on the evidence. But Kamala was tied to Soros, so that's how she got there. Soros has been one of her sugar daddies. Soros, Dustin Makovitz, if you don't know who he is, one of the co-founders of Facebook with Zuckerberg. He's also the one that owns this whole gene CRISPR technology. So there's a report laying out who some of her biggest donors were in this election. So that's who she's been really backed by.
David Duke was a big donor for Trump, but I mean, donor schmoner.
Because they understand they're fighting for their country right now.
I want you to answer this for me. Okay. Yes. The reason why we have Kamala and Trump as even a conversation was because Biden dropped out.
Right. Well, no, not because just Biden dropped out. The Democratic Party didn't want anybody else challenging Biden. They didn't want no open primary. So they shot themselves in the foot. They didn't let anybody else.
But why didn't they want an open primary?
So he had to run as an independent. So the Democratic
But why did they want an open primary?
And for whatever reson, they made Kamala think that her inauguration was a coronation. Right? You understand?
No, that's something that the Republicans said. It wasn't a coronation. It was not a coronation.
Debates. Republicans had primaries. Trump and the Republicans did it the right way.
They didn't have a primary in 2020. Trump didn't have a primary in 2020.
No, what? They did have
There
primaries.
was no prime. I mean, they
He
did.
won all the
They
primaries.
did about as much of a primary as the Democrats do.
No, Trump.
The incumbent does not want a challenge. That's Republican or Democrat. That's the way it is.
There was primaries, and Trump won.
Who was in the primary in 2020 on
So
the
the
Republican
Democratic
side?
Party did this to themselves. They
On the
didn't have it.
Republican side, who was it? There was no. The incumbent doesn't have
Well, no,
a primary challenge. They smash and squash whoever it is because the president got the bully pulpit. They squash everybody else.
Right. But there were those that wanted to challenge Biden, and of course they don't
Yes,
challenge.
but they couldn't.
Kennedy, they wouldn't let Kennedy get on certain ballots as a Democrat, so he had to run as independent.
But that is Trump did the same. Trump did the same thing in 2020. That's what the incumbent does. Obama did the same thing. The same thing, and when he was running for re-election. So Biden was exposed.
Yeah, because everybody kept saying he was healthy, even though they know he wasn't healthy.
That was a lie. That was a lie.
Co-signing for him, Kamala. Talking about Joe is sharp as a tack, right?
And she didn't say that.
During the 27th debate, and we was like, he might need a tic tac, but he ain't sharp as a tack.
Yeah,
right?
he definitely. So do you think that if, let's say now, here's the other thing. Here's where Trump really wanted to run against Biden. He had all his jokes ready for Biden. And he's the one that exposed that Biden shouldn't be in it with the debate. The debate was too early. If the debate had been normal, like it's normally September, October, then we wouldn't have. They would have been able to switch, and he would have run against Biden. Kamala was put in a very tough situation to run 100 and some day campaign.
People say 107 days, right?
Whatever it was, from the point where Joe Biden dropped out.
But she's been running, and essentially she said she was the vice president. she was running on Joe record, and then she wanted to try to flip to make it look like she had not been the vice president, and she was running on her own record. So she's not.
She's running on Joe Biden's record because
she was running on the Biden-Harris record.
She had to because she didn't have no control. Mike Pence didn't have no control over what Trump did when he was in office, and Vance ain't gonna have no control either.
He supported his policy, so
right. And she did out.
People would have had him linked up to Trump policies. She couldn't separate herself from Joe Biden, and the American people clear the inflation, the jobs, the illegal immigration. They didn't want, in terms of the culture, what was taking place, men and women's sports. They don't want men in the bathrooms and locker rooms with their little girls.
Sure.
So a lot of this, I mean, I go on and on and on. So the American people are saying we want our nationalism, we want our sovereignty. We don't want to keep sending money over to Ukraine. We don't want to keep sending money.
I agree with that. No, we agree on that.
So the American people are saying when Trump was in, we didn't go into these wars. We didn't go to the expanded military action right now. Right now, we're on the brink of World War III. And Biden,
we are not on the brink of World War III.
No, we are in terms of the long-range missiles and, of course, what Putin has said. But, of course, wars are racking and it makes money. So Kamala was backed by Dick Cheney and others who bought us the Iraq war, bought us Afghanistan war, and other countless wars. And so when you saw Dick Cheney, that was a turnoff for a lot of American people because most of the American people.
Well, we didn't see Dick Cheney.
No, you heard that Dick Cheney saw Cheney. Right?
He ain't come out with her nowhere.
And then you saw so-called these individuals in the Pentagon, over 100 of them that came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. So what they're essentially saying is we want war with Russia.
Generals, we saw people that used to work with and for Donald Trump.
That
didn't mean nothing to you?
But because they're part of the globalists. They're not part of, again, America, the Republic.
Mike Pence is part of the growth. Mike Pence is?
He's part of the globalist agenda. So you had
Elon Musk. What about Elon Musk?
I'm sorry?
Is Elon Musk part of the global agenda?
Elon Musk, to an extent, is part of that. So Trump will have to watch him. You know what I mean? Watch him very carefully. But see, when you understand that relationship between Trump and Musk, it kind of goes back to what I mentioned at the top of the show when I talked about his Trump, the last president. Trump, even though he was reared by his father, his uncle came out of MIT. His uncle worked closely and was given a lot of the information and secrets of Nikola Tesla. A lot of people don't know that. So there's a symbiotic relationship between Trump and Elon Musk because of that technology. And of course, what all that technology opened up the world to. And very few people, they hear about Tesla, but they
Yeah,
don't know
but Musk didn't create
Tesla is. And
Musk didn't create anything. He just invested. He didn't create.
but of course, in being an investor, he got exposed to that, and as well in terms of a lot of that information. Trump
Sure.
as well.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I find it so interesting that even after all of this, you still think that Trump is going to help somebody other than himself.
Absolutely, he already has.
Who has Trump helped?
Trump set up the opportunity. Are you familiar with the opportunity zones?
We used to talk about it on your show
Right. So
every week.
who signed that?
Yes, I absolutely do.
Where Morgan and Northwood Shopping Center, that's the opportunity zone. In Baltimore City, there are 42 opportunity zones. Donald Trump signed that legislation. And what the most of the mayors and governors won't tell their people about these opportunity zones, where all the developments going on in many of these cities. In the South, I've met brothers from the South that came up for conferences in Baltimore. They was like, you know about the opportunity zones? They say that's all we doing in terms of building and development in opportunity zones. So again, it's on the media, and particularly the black media, but the white media, but I'm our perspective, black media. What are people not telling them about that? The First Step Act, which helped a lot of brothers get released from prison. You saw the young man from Detroit, Kwame Kilpatrick, brilliant young brother. Who pardoned him? Donald Trump, right? I mean, this is right now the time of year when you pardon prisoners, commute sentences right now.
Yeah, the end of the year.
You don't hear any of the black media or so-called black civil rights or black nationalist organizations saying we giving a list to Joe Biden. I mean, they pardon criminals from Venezuela and other countries and sent them over to America. No, we got some brothers in prison.
No, there's no record of that. That's what Trump says. There's no
right.
So you saying that they emptying out the insane asylums and said that's not true. That's that. So I'm glad that we getting to the border and Trump.
They got a program called humanitarian parole, where they're releasing prisoners and sending them to America. If you can Google it, okay?
Well, that doesn't, we can Google a lot of things, but it depends on the source of the information.
Yeah, and you saw the guy that just got sentenced today for killing Lincoln, what's her name, Lincoln Riley in Georgia, right? Prisoners that got sent over here. The guy Jose Ibarra, he got, I think they could have gave him the death penalty. But what I'm saying is that some of these the ones that they sending over here, not just from South America, but they're sending some from China. They're sending some from other countries. And these are military age young men, man. This is how you can destroy a country and attack a country from within. And so what Trump and what the Republicans are saying is very true. You're going to have some of these people that's the criminals that's not living and ain't got jobs and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. You're gonna have to arrest them and detain them and send them back to their countries. That's coming. So the American people, man, we're gonna eventually have a conversation about what to expect now that the election is over and what.
Yeah, and when we do our part 2 tomorrow, I want to get onto that part.
Yeah.
Trump. Do you remember when Trump? Do you remember on the right before the anniversary of 9/11 when Trump had the Taliban at Camp David?
Yeah,
you remember that?
Absolutely. See, I'm a man of peace, and you got to sit down with your enemies.
The Taliban.
Okay. And see, as Malcolm X said, you can't reach a man if you don't speak the language that man speaks. Right? So if he met with the Taliban and let them know, he can exact punishment, or of course he can exact justice for them.
He gave the Taliban everything they wanted. It was not that.
Head of North Korea, you got to sit down. You know what I mean? That's what you do. You sit down with your enemies and your frenemies if you're trying to bring peace, and that's what world leaders have said once they saw Trump. Of course,
no. Well, let me say this. Let's talk a little bit about what do you know about tariffs?
What's that?
Tariffs.
Tariffs are no more than taxes in terms of what you will put on those products that's being bought into the country right now.
That is true. So who pays a tariff?
See, but when Trump say "Make America Great Again," he's saying let's bring manufacturing back to America. Let's bring.
That's what he means. Well, why don't he just say that then?
Don't. Well, he said that. That's one of the ways that you do it. That you can Nike and all these companies like Under Armour. Their global headquarters is here in Baltimore. Under Armour got a $600 million tax increment finance, a TIF, to build all that they're building in that Baltimore Peninsula down there on the waterfront. You know that, right?
Yeah.
That's
TIFs.
in the opportunity zone. Did you know that? Where Cherry
TIFs.
Hill, Westport, all
Yeah,
those
yeah.
zones.
Tips.
So,
Tips are used all the time. Let's not act
yeah.
like Trump invented tips.
No. I'm not
Tips
talking about
predate
TIFs.
Trump. I'm talking about his tariffs that are going
Yeah,
to raise the price of everything.
the
People say
goods
the
of goods.
economy, the economy, the economy. Trump is going to raise the prices of everything.
Now, it's
We're
not
not in the
Trump.
position,
I'm just going to raise them. It's
huh?
those corporations that,
No, it's the
again,
tariff. It's the
it's the
tariffs
greed.
that he's going to put on.
Yeah, the corporations will raise their prices, but
Uh,
you can't let them keep again taking the jobs out of America, as Trump said, building the products in Mexico, didn't want to ship them, or build them in China, didn't want to ship
yeah.
them. So what you
So what
trying
is
to
the history? What is the history? Why
incentivize these
why did
corporations?
things start? Why did things start being manufactured in other countries?
Greed, the greed of the corporations.
Absolutely. Now, when
Stop.
did that happen? When did that happen?
I'm
When
sorry.
did that start?
Oh, this is what when you go back and listen to Dr. King, why I'm opposed to the war in Vietnam, he talks about that. He said that you would see Western corporations investing huge sums of money in Asia, Africa, and South America, only to take out the immense profits with no concern for the betterment of the country. What do you think Vietnam was about? That was about the rubber. What do you think going into China, to
But
Cambodia,
when did,
uh,
as a whole,
the
when
drug
did we start sending under? Was it under Biden?
under? No, it probably
No.
started. Probably
This predated Biden. Well,
it
predated
predated,
Biden's
but
presidency.
it accelerated during the time of LBJ and, of course, Richard Nixon. Now, the other part that I think you got to look at with Trump is that what he's talking about, and those that are around him, his advisors, is this new economic system that they want to bring in, which will peg the American dollar back to a gold standard. Now, you know, America, this is what the wars have always been fought about. This is why Lincoln was assassinated, in terms of, again, the money. You know, this is why Kennedy was assassinated. We coming up on that anniversary, right? He signed Executive Order 11110, which was to take the control of the money away from the Federal Reserve, which is not a part of the federal government. They just international bankers.
Correct.
Now Trump is saying that they want to put America back on the gold standard. Something happened that this year in August with the petrodollar, which was essentially the fiat currency, because on your dollar it just says, pay, Federal Reserve note. So it doesn't have any value to it. So Trump
You talking about the
got to
dollar?
go back to a gold standard, right? And that's what's going to help the American dollar. But they're not just talking about the American dollar, but then you can tie that into other currencies around the world.
That's
So
not the
you
new
got to
world
talk.
order.
What's that?
This is not. So you talking about creating one currency for the world?
No, not one currency, but the currencies will be backed by gold. If you want to return to the gold standard, is what President Donald Trump is talking about. Returning to the gold standard. There's a congressman, his name escapes me right now. I want to say Massey out of West Virginia. He just introduced a bill to return America back to the gold standard. See, a lot of times the people, the
That's
American,
not going to happen though.
well, it has
No.
to happen to the international bankers who control America and control other countries by controlling their currency. To them, that's a declaration of war, and so that's
That's what
why
I'm saying. That
come back. We
I
come.
haven't heard Trump
What is?
say anything about
Oh,
returning to the
absolutely.
gold standard,
He talked
but
about it.
that is the
Go
quickest. That's the
Google it.
quickest way to be out of here.
Yeah, but he
Is
talked
try
about
to
that
do
in
that.
20. That's what he talked about it in 2019, and that's why he didn't return back to the White House for a second term because of that. But it's coming.
So it
There's
wasn't COVID. It wasn't how he handled COVID. It was the gold standard.
It was the gold standard. It's always another story to the story that the media's not going to
Well, it's
focus.
multiple. There's always multiple things.
Yeah, but you
Um,
got to put the quantum financial system. It's called Nasara and Gasara, okay? Because that's what's coming globally. That the media will have the American people and the world, of course. Right now, most of the people, unfortunately, as I've said, with who the biggest losers are with the election, it's been the media. The mainstream media is dead. Black
that's
mainstream
true.
media, white mainstream media, they dead, man. The people are now looking for other alternative media sources, which we're not the alternative. We are the imperative right now because the
Definitely.
people really want to know what's happening. They're not having these kind of conversations that we're having right now. So a lot of those mainstream legacy news media, their ratings are down, their cable
Yeah.
ratings are down. I mean, it's so bad they had to put They had to put a 50-year-old Mike Tyson and Jake Paul reality TV.
And they did big numbers, and that was just entertainment. That wasn't even a real sporting event.
Yeah, but that's how bad it is, and it's going to get worse. So most of them, probably the day after the election, they started getting pink slips. And, I know some of them that might be with the Rainbow Crew. They sent them a rainbow slip, too, if that's what they wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give them a pack of Skittles on the way out the door. But the Joey Reeds, the Al Sharptons, they done, man. And the radio ones, they done. I read that NASDAQ report. They was banking on getting a lot of money from the Democratic Party. They got $3 million is what I read. So they on life support.
Who got $3 million?
Radio One. Yeah. They on life support. They didn't get no whole lot from Kamala
That's
Harris.
not a whole lot of money in terms of the election.
No whole lot of money. It's election cycle, man. So I'm just saying they're on life support. A lot of the mainstream media is on life support, but that's where shows and programs like this will fill not the vacuum, but we're becoming the imperative right now, and more programs. So I encourage more people to watch, support your show, support my show, and support platforms like this, because the people have a hunger and have a thirst, and they want to know what's going on. And so another part of why the backlash was that it was so much censorship from 2020 to 2024. And so people said, man, the First Amendment, you don't throw that out the door because of a public health crisis or any other crisis. You got to let the people speak their mind. However repulsive you may think Donald Trump is, he's still got, according to the Constitution, to be heard. And so once you can do it to him, then you can do it to me, or you can do it to another person. And so the people object to a lot of that, and they didn't forget what happened. And I think
that's talking about like during COVID.
All of that, right?
Yeah, a lot of the censorship. So
beyond censorship, they started trying to criminalize people. You came to a PTA meeting, you say, "I don't want this guy going to the bathroom with my daughter." You on the list after that.
I don't think I see. And that's a lot of people bring that up, and there's just not a lot. I think we all agree that we don't want men and women's sports. Right. There's been a handful of situations where they've had stuff like that, but it's not a rash of it across the country. There've been pockets where that's happened, and that's disgusting. And I think we agree on that. Men in the women's bathroom, disgusting.
But they tried to make it the law. See, they were trying to pass the Equality Act. When we think about equality, we think about Dr. King, the Civil Rights Movement. When they say equality, this is a man who's failed at being a man, who now saying he a woman. And not only do he want to identify as a woman, he want to identify as a little girl. And if you don't call him by these pronouns, now they can shut down your business. All of this was being put into law.
Yeah. I don't like that.
And Kamala first it started with Obama. They were the ones that was accelerating that. Meantime,
Obama was championing the ability and the legality of them to get married or same-sex marriage.
They already had that.
Yeah, but it wasn't legal.
They already had it. But they talking about Defense of Marriage Act, and they were just saying it was just between a man, two men and two women. He said, wait a minute, man. How about if a midget want to marry albino? Is that a Defense of Marriage Act? I mean, you never showing what that true.
Do you have a problem? Do you have a problem with same-sex marriages being legal?
Being legal? No, even if I had a problem with it, in terms of what the Supreme Court has done, I can't stop it, and there's no history of us trying to stop them in terms of two men or two women wanting to be together. But once you come into the school and now you want to have drag queen reading hour, you trying
no, that's whack. I don't like that.
They went beyond that, and
I don't like that. Now, what conversations?
People won cases after that. Same thing with
conversations in school are okay with regards to this topic.
What's that?
So some of the kids in those schools may have a same-sex parents at home. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so, or sometimes them teachers are living that kind of lifestyle. And so they bring some of those conversations into the classroom. And so I think that some people are uncomfortable with some of those conversations that happen in the classroom.
That was coming down, which we're going to eventually mention. That was coming down directly from the Department of Education. Okay. They would get money to push those agendas. And you cannot.
What do you mean?
Yeah. That was because what they're trying to do is they're trying to find this rabbit hole runs so deep, and that's what they didn't realize that was going on. See, our children are so far behind in the Western Hemisphere. You don't have time to be trying to teach that under the auspices of health right now.
I agree. I
And we
agree. There's a lot
focusing
of
on.
other stuff.
You're not doing it in the Jewish schools. You're not doing it in the Catholic schools. The only place they teach that at is in the public schools. Did you know that? I wish you go to.
Well, I guess I didn't think about it, but yeah, that I'm sure
Yeah.
that but I don't know if they're teaching it per
No,
se. It's not it's not a
it's a course.
criteria. I think that
Oh no,
it's
it is.
coming by
It
way
is.
of conversations.
It's no,
What'd you do over the
it,
weekend? I got a mom and a
no,
mom, that kind of stuff.
it's a course in a class, and you couldn't opt out of the
In
class
elementary school,
from
no.
elementary all the way up to high school.
What is the course? What's the course you speak of?
It's a health. It's called, I think it's health and life, or life and health. It's a course. I got teachers who I've met with, lawyers that I've met with. They have a group called Moms for Liberty. They've kind of exposed a lot of that.
Oh,
They invited me to
Moms
come
for
to some of their.
Liberty is a
Yeah, people talk about.
terrorist
But
organization.
I said we got Moms for Liberty. You need that. You need dads for freedom. You know what I mean? But they protecting their children. And of course,
Yeah, nobody wants tampons in the boys' bathroom. Somebody said something about tampons in the boys' bathroom.
We're
No,
not talking about that. First thing they try to do is they say we got to cancel that show. We got to cancel that person because they shouldn't even be talking about it. See, and so all of this is what the American people kind of repudiated with the election, saying we don't want any of that. But still, even after the American people have voted, what the Biden-Harris administration is showing, they still going full steam ahead until they leave out of office, man. So that's why the fight is still on right now.
well,
And the
they're
people,
in a lame duck right now. They're passing, getting a lot of judges through as they should. That's what you do in the lame duck. You try to you try to make those things happen. So, are we going to have these mass deportations that Donald Trump has promised?
They coming, and of course. And eventually we're gonna see these street demonstrations. You have the celebrities and others saying, if Donald Trump is reelected, I'm leaving America. You know, the Whoopi Goldberg, the people on the view.
I'm saying here to fight.
But what you got is, just as George Soros was funding the color revolutions in Europe on Russian border, and then Putin saying gonna be no more color revolutions. We're gonna put all that down.
When did this happen?
Oh, this happened when they had the last one, I think, in Kazakhstan. And Putin told them it's gonna be no more. We're gonna round everybody up. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to eventually force president, once he's sworn in, they start having these demonstrations. So when I say these military age illegal immigrants that they've sent into the country, see, all of that is there.
Who's
like
this they?
Those who have sent them in. Those who have gone into those countries and met with them, and met with the prisoners, with these gangs that they're now having. Most of these, they're in 16 states, man. Hear me, okay? So when they're ready, just like Hitler used to have what they call brown shirts. These are no more than people who they've trained to come into America and to bring chaos in the streets.
Putin?
Right?
Putin? We talking about Putin?
No, we're not talking about Putin. I'm talking about those the people who they brought into this country. This is what Soros
Who
has
is they? Okay, is Putin a friend or an enemy of America?
Well, when you study the history of Russia and America, every time America got in trouble with Britain and other countries, you know who came to America's defense? Russia. You know who lost more citizens in World War II? Russia. Citizens and military men. Russia. America and the world owes a debt to Russia for what Russia has done.
My God.
But they don't teach us that in history, right?
Because that's not the truth.
It is the truth. Russia lost 27 million citizens.
Okay,
we go to the Holocaust.
Russia was formed. Right? Russia's, I guess, dates back to 1991. So you're talking about the Soviet Union.
You're talking
about the Soviet Union.
Russia, the czars. When America was having problems with England, it was Russia that came to America's defense. They put their ships in our harbor to help them when they were fighting wars.
When are we talking about?
No.
When did we have a problem with England that Russia helped us?
We've always had a problem with England. We've had a problem with England since we threw the king out and said we don't want no more.
France helped with that.
It's been ongoing.
Yeah, that was France. But I mean, okay. So with that being said, regardless, so just because somebody, we have been allies with them during the world wars. Okay. Yes. But Putin wasn't there at that time. So we talking about Putin today in 2024, not 100 years ago.
Putin don't want war. He don't
Are
want
they an ally or an enemy of America in Putin?
Putin's a friend. Putin's a friend to America.
Oh my God.
He's a friend to America.
But he's meddled in our elections. They've meddled in our elections.
Russia has never attacked America.
They attacked us. They've attacked our elections.
They haven't. Where's the proof? If you tell a lie long enough, the people will believe it. They say Trump got in there because of Russia.
That is true. Yeah.
All
Okay.
of that was shown to be just a fallacy. Just make it up, and you scare the people with that. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. The Russians are
China is China our enemy or China our friend?
Is China an enemy of America?
Yes.
Again, China's looking out for China's interests. Okay, is what China's doing. All right. But has China ever attacked America in open seas and international water? No. But if China sending these Chinese military age men into America, they're coming through the border. It ain't just Mexicans and it ain't just those from South America that's coming up that border. You know that, right? You know that's China that border, right?
Who?
Chinese are coming through that border, right?
I haven't been to the border.
Yeah,
and I haven't been to Europe either.
Oh, see who's coming through that border. That's all I'm saying. Middle Eastern men coming through the border.
I'll say this. Okay. Who owns the most debt? Who do we owe the most money to?
Federal Reserve. You can go to China, Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is who we owe.
What country do we owe the most money?
Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve first and foremost. Okay? Oh. That's why we got to take back our currency. Then you can go to Japan. Then you can go to China and the Saudi Arabia and the other countries.
Yeah, right? we owe Japan $1 trillion.
But Maya Anskel Rothschild.
We owe China $750 billion.
Right. So Japan, right?
Yeah.
Remember what Maya Anskel Rothschild said? He said, I don't care who makes the policies as long as we control the money.
Correct. Okay?
So that's where America.
Yeah, but he played. The reason why is that they funded both sides of the war. They fund both sides, so they never lose.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they still do it now. So that's part of the fight that's going on in terms of the republic and the corporation. That's what we started off talking about.
Absolutely.
That's that's going on now. The British was a corporation, right? You know about the British West Indies, the right, that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Corporation, and then you have the
disgusting corporation.
Yeah, but that's what the fight is still going on today about, right? The death of America, the corporation, and so the republic can be free. But most of the American people don't understand that because, and again, they haven't taught us that in history. You're not going to get this kind of information in formative, schooling for the most part.
No, they're definitely not going to have these conversations and talk about things. Do you think that Democrats have been too scared to offend people?
The Democrats have been too scared. No, I think that just coming out of what we just came out of, I think with the Democrat, they've gone beyond just offending the people for the most part. The traditional Democrats maybe, but there's this other force that are taking over the Democratic Party, which is the globalists. So they're not working for the best interest of the American people. They're working for the best interest of the globalists. Same thing with the Republicans. This is why they might hate a man like Donald Trump, because he's not with the traditional Democrat or the traditional Republicans. This is why you see the traditional Republicans like George Bush aligning with Bill Clinton and aligning with Barack Obama and aligning with others, because again, they don't have the best interest of America, the republic. They're looking out for the corporation. And
I agree with that. I agree with that. So right. do you think when you say America, you're talking about the average working class man or woman, right?
Yeah.
The regular folk.
Right.
Okay, so do you think that it is more likely that Donald Trump aligns with the corporations or the working class everyday man or woman?
He's going to lie. Remember, he came from the corporations, so he could have.
He's in the corporations now.
Become president, but as he said to the people in his first term, in Washington D.C., I'm giving the power back to who? He didn't say to myself. He said, I'm giving the power back to you.
Yeah, but he lied. He also said that he's going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. These are lies. He lied to the regular people. The Supreme Court aligned with business.
The Supreme Court just ruled on the Chevron difference, right? So all of that, when the people understand that, is going to help the people become sovereign and of course America to become sovereign again. That's going to bring down all those different federal agencies, because that's part of what, as Eisenhower, when you go back and watch Eisenhower's last speech before he left the White House, he talked about the democratic
The military industrial complex. You talking about that speech, right?
industrial complex, right?
Yeah, military industrial
Called
complex.
one and two America. And
Yeah.
so that's what we've been looking at and dealing with in terms of how it's grown, right? In Washington, D.C. and outside of Washington, D.C. And so what you're going to see eventually is all of that's going to come down, because they're not serving the interests of the American people, black, brown, red, yellow, and white. They're serving the interests of, again, the globalists for the most part. So a lot of these departments, when you hear him talking about Vivek Ramaswamy, with this DOGE in terms of what they want to do, the Department
Yes, that is going to be a disaster.
say, well, the Department of Education, Department of Education didn't exist in the 60s and the 70s. You know that, right?
A lot. Neither did high-speed internet. But
Right.
what is that?
High-speed internet now.
There was no high-speed internet in the 60s.
Put the power back into the hands of the states, the power back into the hands of the people. Is what's
Power
going
back in the hands of the state. That now we're talking about the Civil War, right?
That's
So
right.
that's the same type of mentality that guys in Civil War. They said the states need to
Civil
have
War
the right
again,
to have slavery.
What did you just say earlier? Who funded both sides? Who funded both sides?
Yeah, of course. They bought weapons. They sold weapons to both sides.
So don't
in every war, the last probably 500 years.
But once they move to do that and put America back on that gold standard, you're gonna have to get rid of the Federal Reserve. Got to become null and void. You know what I mean? They got to. You got to let them go. So again, but
So I'm gonna throw some things out there. You tell me whether it stays or whether it's supposed to go. FBI
got to go. We grew up at a time when Black Power organizations say crush the CIA and the FBI. Look at the family of Malcolm X right now saying that they are suing the FBI. Now, I've been saying on my show for years,
yes,
they don't the FBI. What they got to do is take a page out of the King family. King family sued Lloyd Jowers. So what they must do is sue one of the three guys who they said was the shooters. One or two of them is still alive. Sue him, and then you're going to make everything else come out into the open. But they doing it the wrong way. First getting Ben, I would have never got Ben Crump. I would have got attorney William Pepper. I would have got, of course, the late, great attorney Alton Maddox Jr. and maybe one or two other attorneys, but I wouldn't have got Ben Crump, right? But they got it, but they can't sue the FBI, CIA. You ain't gonna be able to get away doing that. But I agree, and the King family sued for $100 and they won their case. One of the experts on the case was Judge Joe Brown. Now I respect Judge Joe Brown, but of course he's only gonna go but so far in talking about that.
The TV judge who's
the TV judge
crazy.
But that's what they got to do. But no, the FBI is gonna have to go. And we saw not just what they've done to President Donald Trump. The FBI has always been, when it came to our leaders, when it came to our children, the FBI will always, when you talk about somebody playing both sides, they'll play both sides to get certain results for the most part.
Well, that's what police agencies do.
And
CIA. What about the CIA?
CIA is going to have to go as well. All these black op operations is going on globally is CIA. And then they eventually bring them home and inside of America. But we've seen the hand of what the CIA has done in the assassination of African leaders in Central and South America, leaders, of course, in Asia as well. So again, if we're talking about a world of people, you
don't think it's the people that they've had in these roles. You think it's the actual organization.
It's the actual agency. Absolutely. It's been the actual agent. How many CIA agents have you ever seen that was whistleblowers that turned in other CIA agents? If there was one in history, he'd been well spoken of. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
snitches get stitches, in CIA, right?
What about ATF? What about ATF?
What's that?
ATF.
No, ATF is going. I think the ATF, I think, is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms. I think they're gonna still be around, or remnant of them somehow will still have to be in existence.
What about ICE?
ICE is gonna still be here. I think ICE will definitely still be here.
So you say that we need ICE.
Yeah. You talking about immigration, customs?
Yes. Right. So we need that.
I think they'll be here unless their power is given to some other agency. But of course, they all going to fall under, I think, either Hoban or they're going to fall under Tulsi Gabbard, right? Who?
What? Tulsi Gabbard. She's a whole Russian plant.
No, that's
Like
what they say.
she's
That's
a
what they
whole Russian plant.
military, served in the military. She did well. I'd take Tulsi Gabbard any day over Kamala Harris, over Westmore, or anything that the Democratic Party has offered us up, as well as the sister Cynthia McKinney, who the Democratic Party didn't want. That's probably the last real Democrat that we've seen come out of the Democratic Party was a white such as Dennis Kucinich, right? Marcy Kupfer, right? And they're two Jews who they ran against each other after they divided up their district in Ohio. And of course, Sister Cynthia McKinney, who couldn't get a job at no HBCU, man. So it's just shameful to see how the media, particularly the black media, they salivate over Kamala, but they didn't do.
I don't know. I don't know if that was it. She was the person. She was the vice president. I would have rather it had been another president instead of Joe Biden. I didn't have a problem with Kamala being the pick per se. It surprised me, but I think that Biden picked Kamala as the vice president for the same type of thought process that Obama picked him, right? But Obama was going to get California. Biden was going to get California regardless of whether he picked Kamala Harris. So she didn't bring anything other than the fact that she was a woman and that y'all gonna hate this, that she was black. Okay. Because I say whatever your father is, so shall you be.
Yeah. Well, check it out. Did you notice all during the election, you never saw her with her father since you brought that up? Did you notice that? Did you read all the articles saying
we didn't see Trump with his father either? His father did.
All his family.
Nobody campaigns with their father.
Her father lived less than 2 miles from the White House, and he didn't come to her swearing in when she was a senator. He didn't come to her swearing in when she was a vice president.
Okay.
She went on the TV show called what was that TV show where they paid all this money? What was it called? Who was it called? Who's your daddy? Act like your daddy. I'm your daddy. Is she your daddy? What was the name of the? What was
the podcast?
Yeah, the podcast. What was it called?
Yeah, they spent a lot. She spent a lot of money on that. That's true.
But I just
that was a mistake. But so you brought it up earlier, and I do agree. There were a lot of things, but Kamala was put in a no-win situation. The same situation that Hillary Clinton was in. America's not going to elect a female president anytime soon.
I think they will. I just think they were bad choices, and they didn't want Hillary because what she was tied to, and they didn't want Kamala because of what she was tied to.
I'm saying whatever Republican woman you can think of that you like, the country would not elect her either. There's no woman. This country is more sexist than it is racist. As crazy as that sounds, this country is more sexist than it is racist.
That we live in a world that's sexist. We live in a world
that's a fact.
You got black women in the Caribbean, this presidents and prime ministers. You got black women in Africa as presidents and prime ministers, right?
At Mexico,
you got white women in Argentina. Got
Germany,
England
has done it.
Right?
But we talk. America is the worst with this on this regard, and so until we can get past that,
not Europe, not Europe.
Germany has had a female.
Yeah, Merkel.
England has had more than one.
Daughter of Hitler, though, so she got in there because of her family.
What are we talking about? Don't get sidetracked. They had more than one. A lot of countries can do it. Now, so some of these Muslim countries, no, it's not going to happen. But,
right?
But I mean, so that's the.
Well, no, wait a minute. Benazir Bhutto became the first woman prime minister in Pakistan before they killed her when she let the cat out the bag about how they had already killed bin Laden. And she did an interview with David Frost talking about it.
Okay, well, that was
right. Indira Gandhi became the first woman in India, right? So there's
America, women, men. So I talked to a lot. I've seen a lot of them, and they were angry at Kamala. It's like some of these guys were just like, I'm not gonna have no woman in charge. Like, even though a lot of them came from a single family household,
right?
Are raised around their grandmother, their aunts, all of that. their woman controls all their money, but a woman can't be in charge.
Right.
Go figure. I
You
don't know.
got some men. You got some men that think that way, and then you got
You
some men
do.
that think the opposite. But
That's
but
true.
you can't put it on the largest. I think voting block we saw was women, and of course those women voted for black women.
Not white women. White women did.
Now the question I'd be asking, they say in politics you're supposed to reward your friends and punish your enemies. So you always got to look back. What did you get out of voting for? Other than feel good, what else did you get out of it? Right?
Well, she didn't win. She didn't win. So what
still,
she get?
The majority of the money that she spent $1 billion, right?
Money was mismanaged. Money was mismanaged.
What black women, other than Oprah, Beyonce, Cardi B, and her money move partner Megan Thee Stallion, right?
Don't talk about my girls like that,
right? But I'm just saying, what did black women get out of it? Not the
The concerts were a mistake. The concerts were a mistake. Money was misspent.
But it was setting black women and women back, because after saying a man should not be judging a woman by what's between her legs, what's between her thighs, they was the conversation in election saying it's all about abortion. You say, wait a minute.
They didn't say that. They didn't say that. They didn't say it's all about abortion.
Riding on, right? This was their ride or die, right?
What? Abortion?
Abortion. That's what they were saying.
I don't think. I don't think they ran on abortion.
Reproductive rights is what they were saying.
They ran on reproductive rights in 2022, right? Right after the decision. But 2 years in, it's not a fresh issue, so they weren't really running on that.
Trying to put food on the table. I'm trying to pay my light bill, my heat bill, my car payment, my insurance.
Oh, don't worry. The backlash is coming. The same way the backlash came after George Bush and we got Obama. Yeah. And then the backlash after that was Trump. And then the backlash after this Trump is going to be Democrats. You're going to see it in 2026 in the midterms, and then you're really going to feel it in 2028 when the Democrats return.
Now, we'll definitely have that conversation, but I don't think it's happening in 2026 or 2020. I think with the Republicans controlling the Senate and controlling the House, I think they're going to look at that 22nd Amendment and introduce that. I think with the Republicans, having the majority states right now, I think they'll probably introduce
a very slim majority.
But I think they'll introduce some type of legislation.
Wait. Did you say the 22nd Amendment?
22nd Amendment, which
they are not going to touch the 22nd Amendment.
Run another term. Keep your eyes open.
For people that don't know, the 22nd Amendment is not going anywhere. But the 22nd Amendment is something that says that the person can only be president twice and not run for a third term.
Yep. So Trump is the modern day Grover Cleveland, which I told people a few years ago that would be what happened. Grover Cleveland was the 22nd president. He ran, lost 23rd, and then he came back and became the 24th president.
And then he went on to become never mind. Okay. Right. Here's the thing. You think that he's going to have a third term?
I think he may have a third term.
Or you think he's going to run again?
I think he'll run. I think he's going to be able to run.
So let's play this out. If he was to run again, which there would be a real backlash against that. But if he was to run again, that means that Obama can come back and Obama will mop the floor with Donald Trump.
What's that?
I said if they change the 22nd Amendment and allow the person to have a third term, that means that Barack Obama could run again, and Barack Obama would mop the floor with Donald Trump.
I think when we talk about again the biggest losers of this election 2024, I think we're looking at the end of the Obamas right now.
No, even though they put their hand on the scale.
Anybody that's tied to the globalists, it was a clear repudiation of them right now. See, most people thought that, as my brother Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. always said, Barack Obama, the coldest drug dropped on the black community since crack cocaine, right? So normally when Obama comes out, black people, their knees quiver, their tongues shiver. You know what I mean? He can't do no wrong.
Y'all say Donald Trump can't do no wrong, even though he got 30-some felonies.
Ain't no doubt. They tell you about all the Donald Trump's wrong, but they'll tell you people say Obama never had one scandal. You're like, stop it. You know what I mean? So. But again, this was a repudiation of the Obamas, man. This was a repudiation of all them gatekeepers that Cat Williams talking at the beginning of the
here's why I got to push back on that, because Kamala is a flawed candidate due to the fact that she's a woman.
They could have ran Michelle, but they weren't gonna run Michelle.
Oh no, Michelle, I think is different than Kamala, in a lot of ways. Michelle is more beloved. You definitely couldn't play the I don't know if she's black or Indian card with Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama would still get the sexist stuff, but I think more people like Michelle Obama than Kamala.
Nah, black.
You say no?
Well, they may like her.
Yeah, she's more liked. Kamala is disliked by more people, I think,
right,
for whatever reason.
Yeah, but that dislike for Michelle is growing. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
It's growing.
But
beneath the surface, you know what I mean?
But here's you can't fault and that's true. Michelle Obama does not want to run, because if she wanted to run, she would already ran. Yeah. She doesn't want that smoke. Right. And if
Oprah, she didn't want that smoke.
Oprah don't want the smoke.
He didn't want that smoke.
No.
Right. But all of them, when you kind of pick back the veil, all of them assigned to the same talent agency, WME-IMG. And WME,
but that's the biggest one.
Is Ari Emanuel.
Right? Yeah, that's the biggest one.
Donald Trump owned Miss Universe when Trump decided to run for president. He gave that or sold it, but some say he just told Ari Emanuel, you can hold that until I come back, and eventually he gave him the company. But Ari Emanuel, and of course, who's the brother of Rahm Emanuel, is the CEO of WME.
Yeah, but that's a business.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's the biggest one when it comes to them contracts. Absolutely.
Yeah. But so you think the country you think the country's going to be better or worse in 4 years?
Oh, I think the country's definitely going to be better in 4 years. But it's going to go through a lot in the next. It's going to go through a lot within the next 4 years. But the country's definitely going to be better. It's going to be brighter on the other side with what the people are about to go to and go through. Many people.
Is the country better or worse than it was in 2020 right now?
Oh, it's much better than what it was. People were locked down, man. People were dying. People were so divided. And I always tell people the country was divided before Donald Trump. People be talking like Trump divided country, right? It wasn't Trump that told you don't go see your family. It wasn't Trump that called you a super spreader. It was the media.
It was Trump that said good. Trump, right? Maybe you forgot, but 2020 Trump was president.
He was the president on his way out in 2020.
Yeah, Trump was president for almost a year.
Travel. He didn't say don't go see your
family.
He
did.
Trump didn't superimpose on the American people again. You got to wear the mask. You got to be.
We can't even count how many people died of COVID during Trump's thing. His supporters, his wife, his ex-wife, all that stuff that happened. A lot of people died. I have relatives that died. I'm sure you know people that at least bare minimum got sick.
People were getting sick before that, but but COVID was a money maker for big pharmacy. So if you say where did the cold go? Where'd the flu go? It didn't go in hibernation. So you go in. It was a money maker. So you get hit by a car, go to the hospital. First thing you know, they say he got COVID. It was a money maker. They got $13,000 if they diagnose you with it. All of this came out. They got $43,000 once they put you on the ventilator. It was a money maker.
All right, let's say this.
Billionaires.
I guess people got bad memories.
29, you know that, right?
Oh, the vaccine was created under who? Who?
They called it war.
When the vaccine was created. Who was president when the vaccines were created?
Let's be clear. That wasn't a vaccine.
You say the name. Just say the name.
Trump.
Yes.
But that wasn't a vaccine. That was a vaccine take 10 years to come to the shelf. They came up with something in less than 10 months and said
I didn't like that.
And they had
I didn't like that Operation Warp Speed. That was Donald Trump. Operation Warp Speed was Donald Trump.
Under the emergency use authorization. And now people were not given. I counseled a lot of people about how to be conscientious objectors, how to be able to get exemptions. People are now suing their jobs and suing businesses that wouldn't allow them then to get an exemption. There was a woman who was awarded $12 million in Michigan, right? And this is all a part again of what we saw, because you had ivermectin, you had hydroxychloroquine,
All did not work.
you had zinc, you had quercetin, you had other holistic treatments that
We
people
had
could,
prayers.
but it was Fauci and Big Pharma who told the hospitals to put people on remdesivir, which will eventually put fluid on your lungs. Then they got to put you on the ventilator, and of course the ventilator will eventually knock out your lungs, and that's where a lot of people were dying after they was on that ventilator. And so we lost a lot of
Did
people
you
that
ever catch COVID?
catch cold. No, I didn't catch a cold. And I work, and guys, check this out. The company I work for is owned by John Hopkins. Them chump wouldn't even ask me about taking no shots and wouldn't ask me about wearing no mask. So no, I'm not. See, I don't. Dick Gregory used to always say, once they can get you to bend over, they're gonna keep you bending. So I would never bend over. I would never bow down, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? He said death is better, for a job. Like God didn't know you got to pay your bills. So the people had to resist. And so what happened for me and those of us who resisted, our platforms got deplatformed, but people who was looking for information, they like water seeking its own level. They found us and said, here's a brother that's speaking something different. Here's a talk show host, black, brown, red, yellow, white. They're speaking something different that my grandparents and great-grandparents taught me, that we got to go back to nature. People started growing their own food. People said they couldn't rely and wait on law enforcement. Women became the fastest growing, black women, concealed gun carriers who were going out to get their permits. Now, that's another thing that's coming under Donald Trump. The day of now, you had a congressman that just introduced a bill to have a national concealed carry permit so that you can carry across state lines.
Well,
And
they
you
don't
don't
want black people to do that.
Well, again, it's the great equalizer. They said they want equality. Now we're going to give them equality. So that's important. So, as Baba Dick used to always say, how did we get over here in Africa, right? He said, what was the reason how we got over here from Africa? Gunpowder. We ain't have enough gunpowder. We had enough gunpowder. We'd have been the great equalizer.
I don't know about that, because the lack of unity, I think, is how we got here.
Yeah, but we didn't have the weapons. You know what I mean? Say,
lack of unity.
Them DuPonts had that gunpowder. We know.
They definitely had that. I have enjoyed this conversation, and we're going to continue this tomorrow at 7 p.m. Tell me this. You've mentioned it a few times about the pandemic and backlash for information that that you have shared. Are you on the other side of that, or do you feel like you're still being censored in a way?
Oh, it's still being censored, and that's why I agree with what, again, those that's coming in are now saying that they have to, again, people had to go and we had to be resourceful. We had to look at using, Rumble and other social media platforms.
Yeah.
Because of what was done to us. People who normally could probably monetize their shows using YouTube, we were given 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes, and then they shadow ban you. So, not only was I'm happy for RFK because it's redemption with what he went through and others went through, because again, their information was valuable information. And that's what you got to do. Give the people the information. You give the right and you give the left, and let the people choose for themselves. But we went through that. Where they said, "Oh, that's not going to happen,"
But there was a reason why it was wrong. But the reason, the rationale was that information is not right, and this is the right way. But however, I believe that you should present, both sides and obviously let somebody choose. But in a once in a generation pandemic, you're going to make some mistakes, and a lot of mistakes were made.
Eventually, you have to have a conversation about that, because I don't think it was. We call it a plandemic and a scamdemic and a transdemic, which was all about moving the American people in the world toward the 4th Industrial Revolution. The 4th
You don't think people really got sick?
You got people that got sick, right? But again, people who had what they call comorbidities, people that might have been overweight, people had underlying conditions as well. But the majority that went through it, they go through it's like you had bad cold, and some of it might have been energy, some of it might have been the use of 5G. So you had all of that being rolled out.
I don't know about the 5G. That's crazy.
What's that?
The 5G is crazy.
Oh,
okay. What do you mean the 5G?
7G, all of that affects you when you understand that. Why would they still let people put all of that up in our community while the communities were locked down? That's real.
So if the 5G affects us, The gasoline doesn't affect us, and the pollution in the air that don't affect us. It's the 5G.
It's clearly it's the 5G. Absolutely.
So
Otherwise,
what about the pollutants in the air?
They
What
don't
about
push
the pollutants
hard
in
to
the
put
air?
they're not pushing as hard to put a gas station in your community as they was them 5G towers everywhere, right?
Because we
Europeans,
were switching over. We're switching over to a high
but this
frequency.
is where they're moving toward, and that's why I said the American people see the election was a vote against what they call it's called the Great Reset. If you Google Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, which he said, Klaus Schwab Rothschild is his name, that you will own nothing and be happy. Because all of this is about bringing in transhumanism, that in that jab is what they call nanoparticles. In that jab is what they call graphene oxide, right? That now they can use that to monitor your movements, know where you go, know what you think, and that all of this technology comes out of DARPA. DARPA's been using this kind of technology for years, where they eventually be able to use that for mind control and anything else. But the thing is, they wanted to have these permanent lockdowns, using climate change, using what they call the pandemic.
We don't have a permanent lockdown.
Well, that's what. Again, thanks to Trump not going along with that agenda that they was trying to push.
Well, I thought you said that Trump didn't lock people down. But you say
no, that's what I said.
The vaccines came under Trump. Everything shut down under Trump.
You know what COVID stood for? Certificate of Vaccine Identification. That's why they still calling it COVID-19 in 2024. They had a group called, you had Palantir, which again, when you understand Dustin Makovitz and gene therapy, the CEO of Moderna said, what we are literally doing is hijacking the software of life, is what this was all about. But you can't, most people don't want to believe that this is what part of what the end game was, that you got to bring all of this in.
The reason why they still say 19 is because the disease was first identified in 2019. So even in 2024, you can't call it something other than that. That's when the virus was identified in 2019. Coincidentally, when Trump was president. See how it all comes together?
Well, if there's no more pandemic, why are people today still going in and getting COVID shots? Think about that.
I don't recommend. Right. Who's doing that?
A lot of people going in and getting the shots and tell them come get a two-for deal. You're seeing John Legend.
I've seen the commercials.
Right? Two-for deal.
I've seen the commercials. But right. I mean, if that's what they want to do, fine. I mean, some people shoot heroin. Some people shoot heroin. Some people smoke crack. I mean, do you? You know what I mean? But
OD, let them OD off of it.
Yeah, I mean,
more people having serious side effects. And I know people that I'm talking to regularly, and they asking me, what can my daughter do? What can my son do? I've met young people that have had to get, they told them, a young 26-year-old man, right, who had to live in the basement of his girlfriend's house because his heart is so bad he can't go up and down the steps, right? So you could take these stories. See, they used to have what they call the emergency. I mean, not the emergency. They used to have at the CDC, where you could report all of this adverse side effects. They had a reporting system, but they shut a lot of that down. So the people have been injured and they can't sue these companies because they put it on the emergency use authorization. Unless you can prove what they did was fraud, and you have a great brother, white guy by the name of David E. Martin. He exposes a lot of that. I tell people go and watch him because he's exposed how a lot of that was fraud, who had patents on what. Once you can prove that, then you can sue these companies and sue their CEOs for what they've done to the American people. It's one of the greatest crimes against humanity since. Are you familiar with the Hazel O'Leary, the first black woman to head the Department of Energy?
No.
Under Bill Clinton, she did an investigation, and she talked about how the United States government experimented on American citizens, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, with plutonium. And they used different hospitals, different clinics, different schools. And there's a book out called Plutonium Files. Some of the children were born blind. Some were born with no eyes because they gave radioisotopes to white women at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, at the clinics down there. Well, the day that Bill Clinton got up with Hazel O'Leary and a group of doctors and investigative teams to give an apology to many who was in the army, who, of course, they couldn't sue because they was in the army. And so when people say, this whole thing about my body, my choice, they say, name a place where a man don't have control over his body. In the military. Everybody know that, right? So, but nevertheless, so when Bill Clinton made the apology with Hazel O'Leary, it was on the day of the O.J. Simpson trial. the O.J. Simpson verdict was coming down at the same time. So most of the American people never knew anything about the American government experimenting on American citizens because of the O.J. Simpson, which became the first reality TV show to serve as a distraction and a diversion to something so seriously. So I say all that to say, when the mainstream news media is harping on a certain story so much so, you got to ask what else is going on in the world that they don't want us to know. But if the American people had known about that, I believe many of them would not have lined up to get the COVID shot if they would have known about the plutonium files and known about the Department of Energy and the U.S. government experimenting on American citizens.
Yeah, well, I mean that this experimenting on American citizens has happened many times in this nation's history.
And Hazel O'Leary never got another job in government. And she went on to become the president, I think, at Fisk. And I think she's still living, but she never got another job after that.
Well, I mean, she was an attorney, so I
Hero.
mean, she's an
I don't
attorney.
think the NAACP ever gave her an Image Award or any of the other groups for what she did, And I don't think she's ever been invited back to the White House after that. But you can Google that about Hazel O'Leary.
Yeah,
I think it was October the 3rd, 1994, when it came down.
yeah. Well, this is, like I said, it's been an interesting conversation, as always. So we're going to pick up tomorrow.
Yes.
And I want to talk. Hopefully, we talk about the future.
Yes.
The future and much more. How can people check out your show and follow you and support your movement?
Well, I'm on WFBR every Saturday, 1590, every Saturday, 12 to 2 is when we air. We also are up on Facebook at Daren Muhammad, DAREN, and Muhammad, MUHAMMAD. We're also on Instagram at State of the City. So we're not on some of them other, like 20 other platforms you're on. We eventually might be able to get to at least 19 of those 20 platforms that you on, my brother. So I get on Twitch and Itch and some of them other.
Yeah, all that.
Scratch and dent, whatever, so some of these but we need more of our own platform.
Absolutely.
People say they running to get on Blue Skies, and now we need some Black Fists. Is that an app, Black Fists? If not, we need
that might be that. Yeah. That's right. That's a good name.
Support us. We're on our Cash App. You can support us through our Cash App, which is $SOTC Muhammad, MUHAMMAD. And we're on PayPal at DarenMuhammad@gmail.com. So, but we got to have more, I think, dialogues and more roundtables, because that what was missing. Again, I think not just during this time, but even during the time as we talked about from 2020. But as we go into this new year, it's a lot going on. Of course, as I started off talking about, as it is above, so it is below. We're in revolutionary, evolutionary times. Just as we study the planets, as our ancestors do. You got Pluto moving into Aquarius. A lot of people say that means major shifts is about to take place. So people got to tune in to their energy, right? Not get distracted with the distractions. Get tight with your family, and of course, get tight with that universal God force, by whatever name you call them, for what we're about to go to and go through. But all of that has an effect on us. And that's why I said at the top of the show, we always reach out to our elders, reach out to our visionaries, reach out to our spiritual men, spiritual women, reach out to those that might study voodoo or Western African, religions, because you want to know, what do you see? What's in the signs, right? So that we understand that, because then, sometimes people say go out, you might want to sit still. Somebody say go up, you might want to go down. They say go right, you go left. But you got to be in tune with who you are and not what somebody else's agenda is for you. That's why what we're doing tonight is so very important. But again, thank you for this opportunity, my brother.
Absolutely.
And, known each other for some years, know you through your parents. Thank you for, again, allowing this platform to be used to really have conversations without, again, any limitations. And this is going to be the new paradigm, as I said before. Not just in this city, not just in this state, but in the world right now, what it's taking. So I'm just happy to be here, because this is a time many of our ancestors prayed to be living in, and God chose fit, right, for you and I to be here, and those of us that are here to be here. And so we're thankful, we're grateful, because there's not another one of us on the planet. They say many were chosen. So if you've been doing this, that you've been doing for some years now, and I've been doing this, so clearly we're not doing this because we have some self-aggrandizement, but we're doing it because we clearly have a love for our people and have a love for truth and want to allow ourselves to be used as instruments of truth and light and power during this time. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you definitely got to come over to the studio.
Yes, sir. I promise, brother. You have my word. My word will be made so that we can do that. And then if we're able to link up and, of course, as we did before with being able to be live in studio and have a weekly show, I'll be looking forward to doing that.
I'm looking forward to that as well.
Conversations as well, because again, that's what's missing. And as I said, people have shown that they really have a thirst and want to know what's going on. And so I think it's just, being able to have those that can harmonize. A lot of people have information, but they can't harmonize with the people. And so you got to be able to reach the people and teach the people and don't talk down to the people, and listen to the people. And I think that we're in a time now that that's what we're about to go to and go through right now.
No, I agree. I agree with that. And so we'll be back tomorrow to chop it up for part 2.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Salute.
All right. To those listening, thank you for tuning in tonight. God bless. Let's continue to clean up all this mess. Stay watchful, stay vigilant. And of course, as I always say, stay out in crowded places and spaces. All right. Peace.
All right. Peace.
Now, where can they tune in and watch this? You'll send it to me? We'll put it up on Facebook.
Absolutely. Well, it's already on there. Yeah, it's already on there.
And then what are the other apps that it's on? I know you mentioned Twitch.
Yes. Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook. Yeah. Oh, YouTube and YouTube.
YouTube. Okay. All right. And then for those to support you, your Cash App.
Is $ the Diamond K Show.
Okay. All right.
And DJ Diamond K at gmail.com.
Okay. All right, my brother. Go in peace. Get a greetings to the family for me.
All right, will do. Thank you.
All right. Peace.
All right.